Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today we're going to talk about the Empire. Coming with an edit here as this video was supposed to come out a few days ago, but I got a little bit busy. So yeah, we spoke about the dwarfs regarding a possible rework a while back for Thrones of Decay, and I want to look towards the Empire for that specific reason. And really, there's been an obvious amount of worry for Thrones of Decay because of what's happened with Shadows of Change. But what I want to do is offer some ideas that I've been having about the Empire, and if Creative Assembly like them, why not? Again, I'm not saying that I know better than the devs from Creative Assembly, I'm just offering some ideas because I love this title, I want it to continue, but not in the way that it's been happening recently. Now, a little disclaimer here, I'm fully aware that with the dwarf video, a lot of people did complain saying, well, that's just a lot of mechanics that we already have in game, just kind of reshaped and so on. I'll be very honest with you, with the dwarfs, it does make a lot of sense, as the dwarfs are pretty much fine. They just need new units, they need a few changes here and there, but in general, the dwarfs are one of those factions which are supposed to feel familiar and only have a few things just to give them a little bit more of their lore feel. But now we turn our attentions to the Empire. This is the most popular race and faction throughout the Total War Warhammer series. We know this because Creative Assembly have released statistics about this in the past. They've always been number one. And, you know, they're a cool faction, their rework was actually fairly decent. The only problem is that as more content has been added in, as the Immortal Empires have come out, well, Karl Franz is the punching bag of the Empire. Karl Franz is the punching bag of the world. Volkmar's not really in a great place himself, but the Hunts Marshal and Balthazar are pretty much fine. It's just Karl Franz who's getting repeatedly kicked in the balls as any time a DLC comes out or a patch and so on. It's not great for him. So let's jump in with some ideas. And I've got a few ones here which should, in theory, make the Empire quite the faction. Okay, first up is the most basic one. Just release the Gold Wizard hero already. We know that the artwork exists. It was in the art book for Warhammer 3, so just release it as an FLC because nobody's going to pay for that. We have a bunch of the other wizards that basically just came as FLC heroes, so it's about time that we got this one too. It's the last main lore of magic for the Empire, and at the same time release the Lord variants too. And I'd even go out to say that the 8 basic lords for the laws of magic for the Empire should also be FLCs, one giant FLC pack, just to kind of say sorry about the recent situation and how the game's been up and down and mostly down at this point. So honestly, I think that this would actually be a great way to say, hey, we know things haven't been great, have 8 lords and 1 hero. Most of the art assets they already have, very likely that they're just going to be reskinning these guys just to be a bit different, but we've already got the basic look for them in hero form, so it would just be nice to have them in lord options too, because a lot of people do like the spellcaster lords, and again, most popular faction in terms of players, why not just give them a nice big free pack? Yes, I know I'm repeating myself here, but they need to win over the favor from everyone. If they want a redemption arc, it needs to be done well with a bunch of free stuff too. And finally, after having the Lord and Heroes implemented, they could start looking towards a fun mechanic, like for example, introducing the Colleges of Magic. One of the most important things, well, volatile and important things within the Empire. The Colleges of Magic are in place to have all the practitioners of the Winds of Magic within the same area. Basically, it's a way to keep them in check for chaos corruption. Not only that, it's a great way to have all the wizards being able to study, work on stuff. The colleges aren't really the safest place. There's like demons and dragons bound into them, and yet people still choose to live in Altdorf. I would have left a long time ago. Now, this one will kind of work as a reskin, and I understand that people don't like the idea. However, I feel like it could kind of work, so hear me out. Here, you'd be using the cafe version of the compass, but it would work very differently. It wouldn't give you buffs and so on. The only difference is whichever lore of magic you decide to pick, this is using like the actual Imperial lore compass, that would count that specific college as ascendant, meaning that you would be able to use the Cataclysm spell that is associated with that lore of magic. So, I know, very basic, nothing too special. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to be covering in this video, but it kind of brings in the Cataclysm spells. A lot of people did like them from the base game of Warhammer 3. It's just they don't want to play the Realms of Chaos map for obvious reasons. And this gives you a little bit of freedom. If you prefer the Lore of Death, well, you can use the Lore of Death Cataclysm spells. If you prefer the Lore of Metal, well, there you go. You can pick that. You have literal freedom. There could be a cooldown to switch around, but yeah, I mean, it just kind of works. Maybe even if you pick, say, for example, the Law of Death, provide some bonuses towards Law of Death wizards. So faction-wide, they'll have a little bit of extra Winds of Magic power reserve and maybe a slightly less chance to be able to miscast. Yes, it would make your faction a little bit stronger, but considering that you're dealing with Azag, Trika, Festus, I mean, Vlad, and so many others, obviously the Changeling too, and I'm imagining if this DLC does implement the Tamukan campaign, it's just going to cause so many problems that poor Karl Franz players are just going to go back and cry into their pillow. They need a little bit of an edge, and I feel like that would give them a little bit of an edge to not want to cry so often. Alright, so now we're going to move on to the next thing, which is focusing around knightly orders. So there are many knightly orders within the Empire. The majority of them are riding horses, demigryphs, sometimes even hippogriffs and so on. We do know of some that ride wolves and a few others, but that's very faint in the lore, and it's stuff that we likely would see in the Warhammer the Old World release, which for all intents and purposes for this video we know that Creative Assembly can't use. You never know, that might change in the future. But all these knightly orders are spread out throughout the Empire. What if we basically just got them, right? Again, I know this is asking for a lot, but, you know, this is supposed to be the redemption arc, so give us the redemption arc. I'm talking about having a lot of landmarks being implemented around the territories of the Empire, throughout pretty much all of the Empire, and each of them will have specific units that could only be recruited in those areas. That would be, for example, you know, Knights of Moor found in Sylvania, Knights of the White Wolf found in Mindenheim. This would all be pretty much just reskinned, and I know a lot of people don't like that, but keep in mind that this was done in the same way on the tabletop. You would buy a box of knights, and then you would paint them up and sometimes kit bash them to be something else. And since we've already got knights galore, right, not just in the Empire, but Bretonnia and Cathay, which all have different weapon animations, those would be used on these ones. It would just be recolors and retextures in certain things, but it would give us all the different types of knights, meaning that you could travel around the Empire and actually have loads and loads of different knights. While this might not be exciting to some people, it would be very exciting to others who have a stupid amount of knights, cough cough, myself included. It's just cool to see all the different types, and having them as proper like units or pseudo regiments of renown littered across the area would be really, really cool. Again, I have to really state here, because some people got confused in the dwarf video, this is not part of paid content. This is part of free content that we should really be getting, in all honesty, in patch 5.0, because, well, things haven't been great at the moment, and I love the idea of this. This would give you incentivization to unite the Empire, not just having a bunch of other states there, you becoming the one true ruler and just getting as much as you can. Which segues naturally to what we already have, the whole prestige system. Look, I kind of like it, but there are a few issues. One, and the most important thing, if anyone from Creative Assembly is listening, please for the love of God, put in some bonuses to having prestige. It's way too many negatives, especially with how the system works right now, where pretty much you're already going into the red from the very beginning of your campaign, and it can be quite a slog. There needs to be positives, there needs to be incentives, and there needs to be like a few more green ones rather than just one green one, one neutral one, and then all red. It'd also be really nice if there was more to use prestige for, as there are certain campaigns that you will end up with a massive abundance of it. So maybe something like state policies, where you can get bonuses for different regions for a small amount of turns just by spending prestige. It would be kind of nice for the future stuff, right? It would give you some bonuses, it would give you a little bit more fun to play around with, and in general it just feels very thematic, right? Like, I absolutely love the system, it just feels like it could do with a little bit more bonuses, rather than if you don't get this done you're gonna get punished a lot. But it's a very good system, I absolutely do adore it. The fact that you get your own elect accounts, you get your special units that you recruit from it and so on, it's near perfect. Like, I have no complaints, barring what I've said already in the video. And the last thing is a religion mechanic. Okay, I know this might sound a little bit boring, I've said this many times before. Religion needs to be represented within the Empire. The Empire has a multitude of different deities, and it's a shame that everyone is screaming for Sigmar. It literally annoys me to no end. Sigmar is the patron deity for a decent portion of the Empire, but it's not always the case. The people of Mindenheim, Midland, for example, they follow Ulrich. The people of Talabecland follow Tal. certain cities, towns, hamlets, whatever, they all follow different gods. The closer you get to, for example, the influence of Sylvania, you'll start to see the influence and the power of Mor. He's the god of death who protects them from the undead. I mean, we already have a really interesting mechanic with that. There is a religion mechanic from a Total War Saga Troy, which could do fairly decently here, and then add in some extra flavor to it to make it more unique. Before you guys complain, keep in mind that a decent amount of Troy stuff has bled over into Warhammer 3 and has actually improved quite a few factions. The Warriors of Chaos with the warband system, for example, and religion needs to be implemented in the Empire. It's just, well, a lot of stuff needs to be implemented in the Empire, let's be honest here, but this is something that is really key. Do the same way that Troy has done it, right? Build up different shrines, get your buffs there. Different gods will offer you different buffs, which means that if you follow, for example, Sigmar, you might do more damage against Chaos Warrior factions. If you follow Mor, you'll do more against the undead factions. There could even be some stuff focusing around getting growth, more public order, just general stuff which will allow you to focus on the deity of your choice. Like I said, you could build up some shrines and have all these shrines centered towards all the major deities at the very least, and it'll give you options. Before someone says it's too many buildings, you could get minor bonuses centered around those shrines, again like what Troy did. So yeah, there'll be a lot of buildings, but if you build a shrine to, say, I don't know, Ulrich in one of the Middenheim areas, then you can only build Ulrichian themed buildings, meaning a temple in the provincial capital, and you wouldn't be able to build the others. Again, theming, very, very important. Give you that real feel that you're playing the Empire, because it's really important to note that the Empire is multicultural, multi-faith. It needs to have that a little bit more, rather than just, again, Sigmar, 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 and more Sigmar. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one that gets bothered by it, but it does bother me. I would really like to see this stuff improved upon, just to really give you that feel that you are playing the Empire. The same feeling that you would get when you read the army book, where you read the lore, where you listen to lore videos, right? Give it that real, this is a big nation, this is larger than most other human nations, this is all these different peoples coming together under one banner, but still feeling like their own cultures without having lost their identity. And yeah, I think it would be kind of cool. Obviously, this might not fix every little bit of issue, and you guys might have better ideas, but the idea here is just to give them some little bit of a push. Maybe this might be cool enough for Creative Assembly to do. We need thematic stuff, we need factions to, let's be honest, be a little bit better than they currently are. And Thrones of Decay cannot have as little, and this is also including the adjoining patch, it cannot have as little as Shadows of Change did. This is just my 2 cents here. These are some ideas which I think sound kind of cool. I wrote this a while back, but unfortunately, due to certain matters, I was not able to finish off this video, and I've just been able to finish it now. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's start a bit of discussion, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.